Hey, everybody. Hi, I'm going to jump straight on into the subject and I'm going to make a quick disclaimer as well. This is not to bash anybody. This is not to make anyone feel bad about themselves. As always, this is a channel. My podcast is strictly for healing and just making everybody better and make better decisions, and more so of to start with being honest with themselves and looking deep within themselves in order to heal themselves to the core. And by healing yourself to the core, you have to deal with some ugly truths about yourself, and you just have to really be honest in order to change your life for the better. And this episode is really more targeted towards men. And I just really do feel, and like I said, it could be, this, my opinion may be controversial, but it's my opinion nevertheless. But I do feel that some men need to be very choosy with who they invite or have around their children. And I will say that when men have a woman who has had some extent of daddy issues or have a very not so great relationship with their father and is negative about it, I really do feel like that's the type of woman that you should avoid having around your children at all costs. And why I say that is some women have the tendency to portray this image or be everything that you want and you desire on the outside. I mean, they do everything needed for you and give you these wifey vibes, these long-term vibes, until you actually get with them and you actually propose or you marry them or whatever the case may be, or even move them in. And that's when everything changed. It shifts, because most people who have devious intentions, most people who are rotten from the core on the inside, they're not going to shield that to you until everything is more solid. And the dangerous part about that is some children pick up on these vibes from early on. Now, mind you, we can't get into the whole dynamic of some children just don't like to see their mother, father, whatever with someone. And it could just be, like a temporarily little jealous thing. Oh, I'm losing my dad. My dad is spending more time with Miss Brenda or Miss Ashley that he has with me. And of course, but we can distinguish the difference between that, because when you communicate with your child and you go down and sit down and talk to them and like, oh no, baby, we already had an agreement arrangement how things were before. I get you every other weekend, and it's, you have a conversation with them, and normally, you'll be able to pretty much break through to them, and things will go back to some sense of normalcy with your, relationship with your children, especially your daughters, man. So you have this type of rapport that you have built, the foundation you have built prior to you getting with a certain type of woman, and a woman who has this type of issue, these daddy issues, right? Because you could have had previous relationships. You have a great co-parenting relationship with your child's mother. Everything goes smooth. Your children may have met one or two other women from your past that, maybe things just didn't work out, and everything seemed to go smoothly with them until you run up on the woman who has the more deeper, dark-rooted issues. First of all, a woman who does not have, some women who don't have a great relationship with their father. I mean, I'm talking about ones who are still bitter, who still hurt, who is still dwelling on that pain and reacting or reliving it out through their day-to-day lives, will be a more of a detriment to you and your children and your relationships. Why? Because when a woman who have never had her father around, a woman who never saw her father give her love, give her affection, and really been there, and when they see you being that doting dad, like going on daddy-daughter days, taking your son out to his basketball, football games. I mean, actually literally being an active father, not only providing for them financially, but you're there mentally, spiritually, physically, every other aspect of that. Of course, it looks good on the outside, because a woman who have had issues or never had what you're giving your children might have that longing in her heart. Like, wow, I wish I felt like that. Or maybe he might make a perfect father for my children or my child if they already have some. So of course I'm going to choose him because how he is with his kids. But see, what you don't know is they want you to be that for them. They want you to be that for their children. But when they get with you, now mind you, they can see you doing these patterns or having this type of relationship bond with your children before y'all get serious. And once y'all get together, then every other day, every other moment, it's going to start with little hints. It's going to start with little stuff. They're going to plant little seeds here and there. It might not seem like a big of a deal. Then next thing you know, gradually, the more deeper you get, the more issues they're going to start creating and having for your child, your children. Until eventually it's going to get to the point to where it's going to be like every time your children come over to the house, it's going to be like very like, like a dark cloud or black cloud in your home, because they're not going to want to interact with you and your child. They're going to start showing off these jealousy vibes. They might even start requesting or demanding more time from you. Like, oh my gosh, we don't spend enough time with you. And now, mind you, you probably, because you might be married or in a relationship and your girlfriend, you move your new woman and her children or child, whatever, are into your home. And mind you, you can spend 7 days, like, mind you, if you don't get your child to like every other weekend. So look at that time that you have to spend and see this other woman who lives in your house all the time, all day. And if you share children with her, you get to spend time with them all the time. And you barely get to see your other child other than having conversations on the phone with them or just checking in here and there. But when a woman starts making an issue about you going to see your child, or if you missing your child and not encouraging you to say, hey, yeah, if they want to spend the night, I don't mind watching them if you have to work, or I don't mind doing this. But when they start making an issue and when you're taking your child out and you're doing a little different stuff, then you need to really look into that. You really need to check into that. And then when your child is displaying or exemplifying any type of like characteristics that as if she's uncomfortable around your new woman or spouse, or doesn't seem to like them or gravitate towards something, sometimes you need to check into it. Because some things might not just be, oh, they're just a little jealous, or they're just a little upset because, my child still wants me and their mother to get back together, or, some things like that. Sometimes you got to really pay attention to your children, or either, better yet, not even paying attention to them. Sit down with your child and talking to them, asking them, like, sometimes that's important too. I don't care like how much we feel like we're in love with somebody. We can't choose partners based off of what we want. We have to choose partners based off what is better and the need that meets the needs of not only you, but your children as well, because your partner has to be able to not only fulfill your needs and do things for you, right? They need to be able to be an active and type of give a good example for your children, especially if they're in it for the long haul, because not only are they picking you or choosing you, what comes along with you, that's a part of the package deal. And sometimes the men can get so wrapped up in their desires and the physicality of things that they forget that, hey, deep down inside, like when I'm leaving my child alone with this woman, do you know what's going on in your home? Are you checking on your child's well-being? Is your child running up to you when you come in the house like, oh my God, thank you, or texting you throughout the day like, Daddy, when are you coming home? I'm ready to come home. Because you never know how these women are treating your children or child behind closed doors, or what they actually doing. Are they ignoring your kids? Are they feeding your kids? Are they actually interacting with them, taking them out and doing stuff? Some people have so much hatred for the lack of what they are missing or what they were missing, that sometimes they can project that onto your relationship with your child and want you to spend less and less time with them. And so when they have you all to themselves, it's still not going to be enough. And even if you went from seeing your child or your children 3 times a week and you went down to once a week, they're not going to stop until you stop spending time with them altogether. Be careful out here. A lot of women are not going to be real enough with some of y'all men and tell y'all. But I know half of y'all see some of these patterns, or y'all seeing this in your home and y'all feeling like, oh, she makes the perfect girlfriend, the perfect fiance, the perfect wife, or the perfect whatever. And then your child is unhappy. Your relationship with your children or child is now becoming strained. It's becoming stressful because they no longer are happy. They no longer want to come around you, because every time they come around, they got to be met with this woman who's giving them, crazy looks, who's ignoring them, who's not talking to them, who feels like she gets an attitude every time that your child comes into the home. And mind you, as I said before, if you have had a pattern of how often you get your children, this is something that everybody already know. Why all of a sudden the bickering and the issues start happening when it's time for your other children to come into the home? Why is this woman requiring you to love and do all these things for her children more than you do for your own. A real woman is not going to want that or ask that of you. What you do for her, for children that's not yours, that's a blessing. What you choose to do and willing to do for another woman's children who are not that of your own is a blessing. It's an honor. And women have to acknowledge that a man coming in and helping raise and take care of children who are not of his own. But at the end of the day, the bond that you have with your own children who came from your seed, that's a different bond that is going to be. And we can't help but acknowledge the fact that that relationship and bond is going to be different because these are your flesh, your blood. So why try to take that away? Women cannot continue life trying to live out their lives or the things they didn't have and actually trying to ruin somebody else's future for that. Because by you trying to damage and ruin this man's relationship with his own children because you didn't have happiness growing up or you didn't have a father growing up, what you're going to end up doing is having some other child feel the exact same way that you felt. But what satisfaction are you actually getting out of that? That another child is going to have to go through the same hurts and pains that you did, grow up fatherless when they had a loving father. And when a man truly loves you, they want peace. And some men can love women so much that they say, you know what, if this is causing you to be so unhappy, if this is making you so uneasy, then you know what, I'm just going to avoid going over there, or I'm not going to get my child as much. But then you're sacrificing your child's happiness all for a bitter woman who really is not really mad at this child at all, or who don't really have an issue. She got deeper issues that you sometimes can't fix. But by you neglecting your child just to make another woman happy, who is really losing? Your child growing up without having you when she's had you your whole life up until you got with a certain woman. And now things are going downhill. A lot of women, yes, I'm not going to lie, a lot of men still are involved with their children's mother, still sleeps with their baby mother. And there has been a lot of distrust when, and a lot of people don't accept the co-parenting relationships that could be strictly just platonic. But outside of that, when some of those children's mothers start tripping, it's because they noticing something different. Like, yo, hold up. I'm not trying to get in your business, but I noticed you haven't been as active and doing for the children or get the children as much. And that she have a right to speak up for that and tell you without overstepping boundaries, especially if she has moved on, she's with somebody, and it's more so like, hold up, I'm noticing throughout the month, you only getting the kids once or you barely getting them at all. And then, what is going on? The children are starting to miss you. They starting to see a difference, but we haven't noticed none of these changes until you got with who you got with. And then sometimes when you see your girlfriend, your wife having an altercation, an issue with the child's mother, it's because sometimes children can see through people bullshit and your child's mother can see through bullshit. Sometimes it's not always just somebody just trying to, ruin what you have and trying to sabotage that. Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's just people see things that you might be missing. And it's not cool. And I really do just feel like as we move into these new future years, as we continue to break all these generational curses, that men just really start reevaluating who you got in your corner, or actually looking at how often is your woman, your wife, your girlfriend, your fiance complaining when your children come over. Like, how happy is she throughout the weeks that you don't see your other children and you just in the house just paying all the bills and catering to her and hers? And notice if there's a difference or of how she's acting or how things are when you bring your other children or child over. Ask yourself this. Do she even ask you or include your other children involved in something? How often do she include your kids or your child or your children? Do she say, hey, you need to spend more time with the kids. Like, we have enough room for everybody to be together. Like, if it's okay with their mother, like, come on, let's get the kids for spring break. Let's get the kids for the whole summer. Is she actually being a part of that? Or is it more so of everything's fine and dandy? throughout the week, everybody's all smiles and giggles, but then all of a sudden, when your children come over, it's, bad energy. Everybody's in the house acting funny, acting stank, and, it's just like you notice a difference, and then your children no longer want to come over to your house. We have to be real with ourselves when it comes to things like this, and we really have to pay attention to our children and women. Like I said, there's no disrespect to none of y'all, but some of us, some of us just ain't shit. And it's not saying that you can't get better. It's just more so of when you actually taking a look at some of that bitterness and some of your own hurts and pains and refusing to get healing and refusing to get counseling and refusing to take a look at yourself. Look at the lives of who lives you continuously ruining. Don't allow another child to feel the things that you have felt. We sorry that you have had to go through this. We are sorry that your father wasn't around and he couldn't stand up to be that man to you. But don't keep that away from the future generation of children who have great fathers who want to be there. Don't deprive them of the things that you were deprived of because no one was able to stand up to say you deserve to have that. At least give somebody else a chance. And if you feel like you have to have this load on your shoulders, this weight on your shoulders, or feel as if you got to get with another man to keep him away from his children, and if you find any type of satisfaction in that, I'm going to need you to take a step back. And maybe you need to exit stage left and get yourself out of that situation before you ruin a child's life. Because guess what? They need their father just as much as they need their mother, especially when we know there's some great men out there. I'm talking about for the great men out there. I'm not talking about the deadbeats and the ones I'm talking about for those who know it without a shadow of doubt. There's some great men out here. I just want us all just to really reevaluate ourselves, really check ourselves, really ask ourselves and look at our lives and look at some relationships or situationships that we have been in as women. And I want men to actually look around the women who you have had in and out your life that has been around your kids and the ones who have really felt like they've caused or drawn a wedge between you and your children, or notice the difference after you got with a certain woman and knowing they past and the things that they have went through, and see if that has really put a damper on a relationship that you have with your children now, and take the steps to correct it before it's too late. Because that's what it's all about. It's not about acknowledging and seeing that it was an issue. It's actually about changing and take a stand to say, sometimes you got to choose your children over the woman in your life. No matter how hard that might be, you got to make a choice. Because is she worth it? Is she worth the years that you're going to miss out, losing out on your children walking around here saying that my daddy don't come around no more. My daddy don't do nothing for me no more since he was with Miss Ashley or Miss Brenda. We're not trying to do that no more. And sometimes you can't always choose that beauty and that looks and that whatever she providing for you sexually and all of these things, and letting that blind you from what you're losing or missing out on in your life with your children, because your bond with them is more important than anything. Because guess what? They have a heart. You have a heart. You have that longing feeling. Come on, don't be more for somebody else's kids and you got your own kids that you can do the most for. Like I said, it's an honor. It's a privilege. It's something that should be, women should just really do honor y'all and appreciate y'all for those of you who are making a choice to take care of kids who are not yours. That's honorable. That's admirable. That's just something like, that's a bonus. That's a plus, because that's something that you guys don't have to do. And you have to be somewhere where you appreciate it for these things, because you don't have to do that, especially when you have your own children. But it should still be equal. It should never be no issue when you want to spend more time with your children. And if you got room in your house with your wife and your girlfriend, and if you want to move your children in, or if you want them to come stay with you for a while, it should not be any issue when a woman is laying next to you and got her own kids who are not yours living in the house. It should never be nothing said. It should never be no argument, no problem when you say, hey, babe, we need to get the guest room made up because my daughter, my son, they're coming to live with me. It should be okay, no problem. I'm telling you, That ass, it should be no issue when a man wants to move his child in their house. That woman shouldn't have no issue, especially if these children are laying there. Her children are laying there. Too many times I hear women complaining over nothing. It irks my soul to hear how women complain about another man's child. Because it's like, for what? What are you complaining about? Why you got issues with how often he is getting his children when yours living here? Everybody want to complain about, oh, he's not spending enough time with me. Oh, he's not doing this. But at the end of the day, what did you sign up for? This man is going to spend time with his children. This man is going to go see his children. What are you complaining about? If indeed you found out that he's doing more than just spending time with his kids and he's engaged into other things with his children's mother, then of course you got a reason to get upset. You got a reason to feel the way you do. But that's a choice that you have to leave, because staying with him and still being insecure or holding on to that does not give you a right to hang that over his head, or to feel like, oh, well, every time you're going over there to visit your child because of something that you did in the past, I don't trust you and I just don't really feel like you should do that. I don't think so, because that child has nothing to do with that. Instead, what you can do, if you choose to stay with a man like that, okay, you can bring your child over here. Okay, your children can come here. They can come spend the weekend with you. That's when you compromise, because once you make a conscientious choice to take a cheater back or to take somebody back who wronged you, then that's also your right to say there's no need to continue to bring it up and talk about it, because at the end of the day, you the one took them back. Now, if that's something you feel like is too much for you, I would rather women just walk away. If you feel like it's too much for you to every now and then, your man to be spending some quality time with his kids or taking his children out or doing stuff for his children, if you feel like that's something that you can't handle, then you should leave versus ruin a child's life. I feel like that's one of the greatest decisions you could ever make, because you can take a check with yourself and say, hey, I don't know why I'm feeling like this, or I'm having such an issue with this man's children, but obviously I need to go get some counseling, or maybe I need to speak with someone, because maybe this is triggering some deep-rooted issues inside of me that I need to work on, because I don't want to pass this on or have this bitterness or feel like this around these children. And like I said, everybody's situation is different, and I can dive deep into the different levels and all of the stuff that's actually disrespectful, but I'm talking more on the surface level of just the basic stuff of what we're talking about here. Because guess what? This conversation can go way deeper. But right now, we're just talking about just the generalized, all-around good father who has always been taking good care of his kids. And it has been nothing but great positive reviews. And then until he get with a certain woman and things change. That's what we're talking about right now. But I hope you guys really did enjoy this episode. And I really do feel like we just use this year and all future years to come to continue to break these cycles, continue to break these patterns, and really look deep without us. Look deep within ourselves to really make the changes that's going to transform our lives for the future and for our children's lives. I hope you guys have a great day. You be blessed, and hope you enjoy this message.